Awakening is one of the most profound inner transformations a human being can experience. It is not simply an intellectual insight or a new belief system. It is a shift in perception, a rewiring of awareness, and a deep opening of the inner senses. When someone awakens, their relationship with themselves changes, and naturally their relationship with the world changes too. Before awakening, most people participate in social life almost automatically. They follow familiar routines, attend gatherings out of habit, and engage in conversations because that is what everyone else does. They rarely question whether these interactions nourish them or drain them. Socializing becomes a role rather than an experience. The self that shows up is often a collection of masks, expectations, and learned behaviors. But awakening disrupts this autopilot. It brings awareness to the subtle energies behind every word, every intention, and every environment. Suddenly, a person notices which interactions uplift them and which quietly pull them down. They feel the difference between presence and performance, between connection and distraction. Their inner world becomes so vivid and sensitive that they can no longer tolerate situations that feel empty, chaotic, or superficial. This shift can be misunderstood by others. They may wonder why the awakened person no longer attends the same gatherings, laughs at the same jokes, or enjoys the same routines. To the outside world, it may look like withdrawal or antisocial behavior, but from the inside, it feels like alignment. It feels like returning to oneself after years of losing energy in places and people that were never meant for one's soul. Awakened individuals begin prioritizing internal clarity over external activity. They become selective with their time, not because they judge others, but because they understand how environments shape consciousness. They no longer seek approval through social presence. They no longer stay in conversations just to be polite. Their inner compass becomes stronger than social obligation. The heart becomes their guide. They want spaces where truth is welcome, where silence is not feared, where vulnerability is not mocked, and where people speak from authenticity instead of ego. They begin to realize that real connection isn't measured by the number of people around them, but by the depth of understanding shared with even one person. This is why awakened people avoid certain social situations. Their energy, once scattered across countless interactions, now becomes precious. They learn that saying no is not a rejection of others, but an act of self-preservation. They understand that peace is not found in busy rooms, but in aligned environments. They choose quality over quantity, stillness over chaos, meaningful presence over mindless participation. Awakening does not isolate people, it refines their connections. It teaches them to walk away from anything that dimmed their inner light, even if it once felt familiar or comfortable. And with each step away from the noise, they step closer to a life where connection is real, awareness is alive, and the soul can finally breathe. One of the most noticeable changes after awakening is the dramatic increase in energetic sensitivity. Before awakening, you might walk into a room and sense nothing special, just people talking, laughing, moving around. But after awakening, it feels as if the invisible layers of reality become illuminated. You begin to perceive subtle vibrations, emotional feels, hidden tensions, and the unspoken intentions beneath people's words. This sensitivity is not imagined. It is a natural consequence of becoming more aware. When the mind quiets and the inner noise dissolves, you begin to pick up the noise outside you. You can feel the heaviness in someone's voice even if they smile. You can sense the agitation in a room even if everyone appears calm. You recognize when someone is speaking from authenticity and when they are performing a version of themselves to fit in. For an awakened person, this is not a skill. It is an experience. It is not something they try to do. It simply happens. Their awareness becomes like an antenna, tuned to frequencies they never noticed before. What used to be just another conversation now feels like an exchange of energy. And some exchanges leave them exhausted. Crowded places become overwhelming because they contain dozens of overlapping emotional fields. A shopping mall, a noisy cafe, or a family gathering can feel like standing in a storm of impressions. The awakened person may not be able to point to anything specific, but they feel the intensity in their body, a tightening of the chest, a subtle pressure in the head, a desire to withdraw into silence. And this sensitivity extends beyond people. The atmosphere of a place becomes unmistakable. Some environments feel peaceful and welcoming, as if they hold a natural harmony. Others feel chaotic, stagnant, or energetically loud, even when nothing physical is happening. An awakened person might walk into a room and instantly sense whether they want to stay or leave. Not because of logic, but because their inner compass reacts immediately. This sensitivity can initially feel like a burden. It may lead to confusion, discomfort, or social withdrawal. Awakened individuals often wonder, why can't I handle what I used to handle? But the truth is not that they became weaker, it's that they became more receptive. Walls that once numbed them have dissolved. Defenses that once protected them have dropped. They now experience reality in a raw, unfiltered way. Over time, this sensitivity becomes a gift. It teaches them to trust their intuition. It helps them choose relationships that nourish them and avoid those that drain them. It allows them to align their lives with environments that support their growth. And it deepens their compassion because they feel the emotional landscapes of others more clearly than ever before. But this gift also requires boundaries. An awakened person must learn how to protect their energy without shutting down their heart. They must discern between genuine connection and energetic noise. And so they avoid certain social situations not out of fear or judgment, but because their sensitivity guides them toward environments where their inner truth can remain intact and their awareness can breathe freely. Part 3, discomfort with superficial conversations, extended 500 words, one of the most unexpected and challenging shifts after awakening, is the growing discomfort with superficial conversations. Before awakening, small talk may have felt normal. Sometimes boring, sometimes necessary, but overall harmless. After awakening, however, it begins to feel almost unbearable. Conversations about gossip, trends, drama, or mindless entertainment no longer feel like they belong to your world. It's not because you judge others for enjoying these things. It's because your inner landscape has changed so completely that such exchanges feel hollow, empty, and energetically draining. Awakening expands your perception. You begin to see beneath the surface of life. You notice the motivations behind people's words, the insecurities shaping their stories, the fears hiding behind their jokes, and the loneliness hiding behind their smiles. With this deeper perception, conversations that revolve around shallow subjects feel like a missed opportunity for genuine human connection. They skim the surface of reality without ever touching the depths you now inhabit naturally. And the discomfort isn't just intellectual, it's emotional and energetic. When someone talks endlessly about material pursuits, social competition, or external appearances, an awakened person often feels a subtle ache in their chest or tension in the breath. It's the inner self whispering, "This is not the truth you seek." There is nothing wrong with light-hearted conversations, but what feels painful is the sense that people are avoiding themselves, using chatter as a shield against silence, introspection, or authenticity. Awakened individuals crave conversations that nourish the soul, not just entertain the mind. They long for discussions about purpose, meaning, emotions, fears, dreams, growth, consciousness, and the mysteries of existence. They want to talk about what makes us human, what makes life beautiful, and what makes awareness unfold. They want to speak in a way that both people leave the conversation feeling seen, understood, and expanded. But such conversations cannot be forced. They arise only with certain people and in certain states of openness. This often leaves awakened individuals in a strange position, surrounded by people, yet feeling alone in their depth. They may go quiet in groups, not because they lack something to say, but because the only things they wish to talk about cannot be spoken in that environment. Their silence becomes a boundary, a form of protection, a gentle way of saying, I cannot shrink myself to fit this moment. This often leads to misunderstandings. Others may think the awakened person is distant, rude, or disinterested, when in reality they are simply unable to participate in conversations that no longer resonate with their inner frequency. It's like trying to breathe underwater. It feels unnatural, restrictive, and exhausting. Over time, awakened individuals accept that they must choose their conversations wisely. They learn that not every interaction needs to be deep, but at the same time, they give themselves permission to withdraw from interactions that feel energetically draining or inauthentic. They begin valuing silence over noise, authenticity over politeness, presence over performance, and paradoxically, this discomfort with superficial conversations becomes a guide. It gently leads them toward people who speak from the heart, not from habit. It draws them into communities built on sincerity rather than social masks. It helps them understand that their sensitivity to depth is not a flaw. It is a sign of inner alignment. Ultimately, awakened people avoid certain social situations because they now seek what many others unknowingly avoid. The truth beneath the surface, the conversation beneath the conversation, the connection that arises only when both people are willing to meet without masks. After awakening, something fundamental shifts in the way a person interacts with the world. They no longer have the energy or the willingness to maintain social masks. The roles they once played so effortlessly begin to feel heavy, unnatural, and even painful. Before awakening, it may have felt normal to behave differently around different people, more polite, more passive, more agreeable, more impressive, more guarded. But after awakening, the desire to meet social expectations loses its power. What rises instead is a powerful pull toward authenticity, even if it disrupts the comfort of others. This shift doesn't come from rebellion or ego. It comes from clarity. Once the awakened individual sees how much suffering comes from pretending, they can no longer participate in it. They see that much of the world operates on unspoken agreements. Let's not show our ill feelings. Let's not question the rules. Let's keep things comfortable even if it means being false. But awakening exposes these agreements for what they are, cages. And once you've tasted freedom, you cannot go back into the cage willingly. Authenticity becomes a form of integrity. It becomes a way of honoring the truth that lives within. An awakened person would rather be silent than say something that isn't real. They would rather walk away than stay in a conversation where they must shrink themselves. They would rather disappoint someone than betray their own inner guidance. To some, this may appear cold or distant, but in reality, it is the highest form of respect for themselves and for others. Because authenticity never manipulates, never performs, never deceives. This is also why awakened individuals avoid social situations that demand conformity. Environments where people compete, gossip, show off, or suppress their true feelings become unbearable. Social gatherings where everyone is pretending to be happy or confident feel energetically suffocating. Workplaces where appearances matter more than sincerity feel draining. Family events where old roles are imposed, the quiet one, the responsible one, the obedient one, can feel like emotional traps. The awakened person's preference for authenticity is not about isolating themselves. It's about choosing spaces where their truth is not punished. It's about protecting their inner clarity from being drowned out by noise, expectations, and emotional chaos. And because awakened individuals can sense when someone is being inauthentic, they gravitate naturally toward people who are transparent, people who are not afraid to admit their flaws, their confusion, their vulnerability. These are the individuals who feel like home. But authenticity also brings a kind of loneliness. The awakened person learns that not everyone is ready for sincerity. Many people cling to their identities, their masks, their illusions. Many fear that true authenticity will expose their wounds or threaten their relationships. So the awakened person must walk a delicate path, honoring their truth without forcing it onto others, speaking honestly without hurting, and withdrawing gracefully when a situation cannot support real connection. In time, this preference for authenticity becomes a lifestyle. The awakened person chooses work that aligns with their values, friendships based on mutual honesty, and environments where they can breathe deeply without pretending. They may appear selective or detached, but in reality, they are simply loyal to what is real. And this loyalty comes with a quiet understanding. Anything built on falsehood will eventually crumble, but what is built on authenticity will last. This is why they avoid the social situations that demand masks, and why they move toward the spaces where they can finally fully be themselves.